I live in a pretty racially diverse area. It's a suburb, but not a white suburb. It doesn't have the mansions with chandeliers that all the Mexicans go to for Halloween because they give out free caramel apples. I live in an area that has the noisy black neighbors who always have parties on Sunday with tons of watermelon, the Chinese person that keeps quiet and always does Tai Chi in front of everyone in their underwear at 6 in the morning, and a kind of white person that isn't mega rich, but they still play tennis with their bosses. My neighborhood doesn't have a lot of kids that go to my school, so as little kids, my brother and I would just play with each other when we were at home. We rarely saw kids, and when we did, they were always weird as fuck. I had one kid who lived up the street named Noel that thought he was a ninja, which led him to wearing ninja costumes everywhere and bragging whenever he got a new stripe on his green belt. We used to play Bionicles together. Bionicles were these toys you assembled yourself, and it had these on TV show, movie, card game, and Game Boy game, just like Pokemon. Well, whenever we would play, he would take mine because mine were the more expensive, better kind that took 2 hours to assemble and I was proud of. And he would give the shitty kinds to me that would burn under lamps. I hated that kid. There was another kid who lived to the left of my house that I used to play Legos with. He was kind of cool, but I don't remember a lot of him because we only hung out when we were 4 to 6 years old. He moved away and I forgot about him, but when he came back to visit his grandparents for the summer when he was 8, he was totally different. He was the really annoying kid that made Pokemon reference to everything, literally. When we were jumping on my trampoline, he would pretend he was Ash, and he'd run to his house, put on his Ash clothes, and come back. I had to be Charizard, and he would command me to do stuff. He took this game way too far, and eventually, he'd be on my back, and he'd tell me to fly. My mom didn't let me see him from then on. But of all the weird neighbors I've had in the 13 years of living here, Charlie was the worst. When I was 11, my brother and I would bike all the time. We'd bike around the neighborhood because we don't live near anything close enough without going through a ghetto or busy street, and my mom would not let my 9-year-old brother at the time go near anything. So one time my brother was biking near a river, and he sees this chubby kid with greasy black hair. He told me when he got home that he had finally found a friend to play with in our neighborhood. I was ecstatic when I heard this news. Whenever we'd bike, he'd always complain about me going too fast and would fall over, scrape a knee, start crying, and call my mom. His name was Charlie. Charlie came to our house a lot to ask if my brother was free to bike with him. It didn't take long for my brother to complain about him. He said he was annoying and mean, and I thought he was exaggerating. The kid wouldn't shut up. He would fucking blab that mouth for hours about girls with big boobies and TV shows. We learned he went to the special ed school where 50% of the graduates went to juvie. Eventually, my brother started making bullshit excuses to not bike with Charlie, like, I have to walk my dog, or I'm tired. And Charlie would come inside and say, I'll help. Obviously, he didn't help, and what he ended up doing was taking all the Oreos from our pantry and ruin all of our Legos. After a few months, whenever we saw him on his bike when we were driving home from school, my brother would duck and hide under his backpack. Charlie recognized my dad, and he would ask where my brother was. My dad also made bullshit excuses because Vincent always complained about him. When Charlie came to the door on his bike to ask where my brother was, he told me to answer the door and said that he wasn't there. That led to him asking me to bike with him, but I'm good at rejecting people, and I told him I didn't feel like it and that we were busy. A year later, we rented a dumpster to furnish our house because we had to throw out some extra wood that we had in our house. Extra wood, yeah, hilarious. We hadn't seen Charlie for ages, and one day when my brother was home alone, he saw Charlie and 2 black kids bike up to my house and start fucking around in the dumpster, throwing shit everywhere and throwing stuff against my wall. He called my dad and asked him what to do. My dad just told him to tell them to leave. My brother was too scared to say anything. So the next day, the same thing happened, but this time, I had to tell him to leave because my brother was too scared. I make myself sound so badass when I tell people to leave when they come to my house. But anyways, I told him to leave because I told him they were making too much noise and that my dad wanted them to leave, even though he wasn't even there. We haven't seen him since. It's 2 years later, and he's probably in juvie now, but I don't really know. Moral of the story? Don't make friends with your neighbors. It's not worth it. They're either pedophiles, ninjas, Pokemon trainers, or meatheads.